right, here we go. John chapter 21. John chapter 21 is where we are heading here this morning. 14 verses that I want to outline for us here this morning. Careful, Olivia, your face is getting the best of you right now. She kind of gave me one of these, like, oh no, Dad's going to preach 2 hours this morning. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But John chapter 21, an interesting, here's the account. The account is so familiar to us. And the latter verses, in fact, the ones that follow, will be the ones that most have preached on. But I want to get into the story here because I believe there's some really neat things that happen in this passage of Scripture. Before I even read the passage this morning, let me first of all introduce to you my title. Lord, I need you. I'm wondering how many of us, in a desperate plea, have ever been to that place in our life where we have said, Lord, I need you. I'm talking about that time in your life when you really don't even have words to articulate the place that you are. You don't understand the place that you're in. You're confused. There's a lot of emotions wrapped around it. Possibly mad, possibly hurt. Confusion is definitely part of it. Disappointed maybe, even the feeling of rejection. Embarrassed or, watch this, tired, worn. Somebody say amen right there. Tired and worn. Have you ever been to the place in your life where you've just felt heavy? There's really no way to express it. It's not like sin drove you to this place. It's not like some hard week or some horrible shift at work has driven you to this place. It's just everything piles up. I'm wondering if you've ever felt where you just need an escape for a moment. Have you ever been to that place in your life where you have just been, Lord, I need you? I'm talking about when you feel like this, but you've tried everything that you know, and nothing is working. Relationships have turned. Relationships have slipped. Maybe it's finances and they are not good. Maybe you've uttered these words lately, I just feel like I can't get ahead. Maybe it's health. And the news that you continue to get compounded by the feeling that you feel of just not feeling good. It's beginning to discourage you and weigh heavy on you. Maybe this morning the only word that you can find to figure this out is destitute. Hillbilly definition of that, you ready? At the end of your rope. I don't know about you, but I've been to that place. I've been at the end of my rope and I've wondered and asked and looked to the heavens, Lord, I need you. And I know what my dad always would say. He would say, just tie a knot in it. But sometimes it feels like you don't even have what it is within you, the strength to tie a knot in the rope that you're holding on to. And the question becomes in that moment, Lord, I need you. Where are you at? I'm wondering if anyone in this building this morning or on live stream, you need a fresh touch. You need a fresh ministry from the Lord in your life today. And here it is. Are you ready? And you know it. I mean, right now, at the very introduction, you know it. And you're saying within yourself, that's me. I'm wondering if there is a man in the building who's out of work. And there are mouths to feed that are depending upon you. And it's been this way for a while and you're just struggling. You know, you've done everything you know to do. You've sent in resumes. You've gone on interviews to no avail. I'm wondering, is it that person who's all alone in a marriage? Who feels like they're the only one that continues to press on and to continue to try to make things work. I'm wondering if it's the lonely person here this morning where you have no family left. Maybe they've already passed on, or maybe you live in an area where none of your family are. And it just becomes so heavy. I'm wondering if there's a person here this morning who has not paid attention to any spiritual things in their life to this point. They've just kind of pushed them aside, and they have that spirit of, I did it my way in their life. I'm wondering if there is a person in the room this morning that you're just in this pattern at a meaningless job and you don't see any potential of it getting any better. I'm wondering this morning if there's a couple that's struggling with fertility. And the doctors say that everything is okay, but you continue to try and it's just not working. I'm wondering this morning if there's someone here, you're a new parent, you're taking care of not only your newborn, but you're also at the same time fighting for your marriage relationship. And it feels like you're flailing and not getting anywhere. I'm wondering if there's one who is trying to change and nothing is working. You know there's some things in your life. You know there's some certain bends in your personality. And you've tried and you've tried and you've tried, and it feels like you're just not able to change. And how about this one? I'm wondering if there's a Christian here who is stuck in the cycle of sin and confession. We sin, we confess. We sin, we feel bad, we feel guilty, we confess. And we're stuck right there. I'm wondering if there's anyone in here this morning that you can identify with any of that. Where you've been where I'm talking about. You say, Pastor, what does this have to do with John chapter 21? I believe that what I have described is the very place that the disciples found themselves in John chapter 21. In fact, may I offer this as a subtitle: Lessons from the Seashore. John chapter 21, let's look at it. After these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias. And on this wise showed he himself. Now, you need to understand something. Jesus has now lived some 3 years of his life with his disciples. He has been there through the ups of life. He's been there through the downs of life. He's been there in the amazing moments where he has transformed, literally, physically, people's lives in front of them. But now we are on the backside of the darkest day in history. Jesus has been hung between heaven and earth and suspended on a cross. And there he hung and he gave his last ounce of blood. And even while his blood poured out, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." You see, for the disciples, Jesus had become everything to them. They knew who he was. They knew that he was God incarnate. They knew that it was God himself that was with them. And now they have watched the God of the universe die on an old rugged cross, be buried in a borrowed tomb. Not only have they gone through that, but watch this. They even have seen him after he has risen on Easter Sunday morning. This encounter makes the third time that they have seen the risen Jesus. But yet they are right there in that place of confusion, of doubt, of rejection. That place where life is heavy and they are just needing an escape. There were together Simon Peter and Thomas called Didymus, and Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, and the sons of Zebedee, and two other of his disciples. Simon Peter saith to them, looking for a way out, are you ready? Feeling heavy together, discouraged together, I go a-fishing. And some ladies in here might say, just like a man. When the tough gets going, they go fishing. He says, I go a-fishing. They say unto him, well, we're going too. See that? We also go with thee. They went forth and entered into a ship immediately. And that night, they caught nothing. But when the morning was now come, Jesus stood on the shore. But the disciples knew not that it was Jesus. Then Jesus, smart aleck, then Jesus saith unto them, children, have ye any meat? He knew they didn't have any fish, but yet he asked. They answered him, no. Could you imagine Peter in that moment? That would have been great. And he said unto them, I love this part, cast the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find. They cast therefore, and now they were not able to draw it for the multitude of fishes. Therefore the disciples whom Jesus loved saith unto Peter, it is the Lord. Now when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he girt his fisher's coat unto him, for he was naked. Now, let me give you an understanding of what that means. I don't want you to take that too literally. He had gotten down to his shorts, okay? Because it was hot outside. And he's working. It's not like he was literally on the boat with the other men with no clothes on. All right? But he grabbed his coat. Now I'm going to have to find my spot. For they were not far from the land, but as it were 200 cubits, dragging the net with fishes. As soon then as they were come to land, they saw a fire of coals there, and fish thereon, and bread. Jesus saith unto them, bring of the fishes which ye have now caught. Simon Peter went up and drew the net to land full of great fishes, 153. And for all there were so many, yet was not the net broken. Jesus saith unto them, come and dine. And none of the disciples durst ask him, who art thou? Knowing that it was the Lord. Jesus then cometh and taketh bread and giveth them, and fish likewise. Now this is now the third time that Jesus showed himself to his disciples after that he was risen from the dead. You say, Pastor, what's going on here? Here, watch this. Let me walk you through this story. The disciples are in a very dark place in their life. Spiritually, emotionally, physically. They're at that place that you and I can identify with. I need an escape. Life is just heavy. So Peter jumps up. I'm tired of all this sitting around. I'm going fishing. Let me ask you a question. Why would Jesus' go-to be fishing? Because he was a fisherman. Fishing came easy to him. Fishing was that place where he could just forget about everything else. It kept him busy enough, Sean. It kept him in a place where he didn't have to think about the other things of life. He could just be in his environment. He says, I'm going fishing. The rest of them say, well, I don't want to be here alone. I want an out too. I'm going with you. Now, I don't know how Peter felt about that, but evidently it was okay, because if he wanted to be alone, he would have told him, you're staying here, I'm going by myself, right? So they all go down and they go fishing. Wondering how many months it has been since Peter grabbed a hold of his boat and shoved off of the beach out into the Sea of Galilee. And they step out on this boat. Now, if you were a fisherman, got any fishermen in here? Come on, I got a couple of you I know. If you're a fisherman and you haven't been able to really get after it, you've been fishing for men instead of fishing for fish for 3 years, where are you going to go as soon as you get on the water? You're going to your honey hole, right? I'm talking about that place where you have caught the big one. The place where you've caught many fish. And I'm sure they toiled to every place that Peter could think of all night long. And if Peter wasn't in a discouraged mess when he left, he's really upset now, isn't he? Have you ever been to that place where not only have you been kicked, but you've even been kicked while you've been down? That's where Peter's at right now. He's like, watch this. I can't even do what I know best how to do right now. And there they are fishing all night long. Until when? Until the next morning. And the next morning, they're coming back in from a long night. I'm sure Peter at this point's like, I just want to go to bed. And there's this wise guy on the bank. You boys catching any big uns? Right? And they look at each other. Who's this cat? I'm sure Peter's just wanting to punch him right in the face. No. And then he says something. Before you come all the way in, cast your net on the other side. Could you imagine what that must have been like right then? Here's what I guarantee you went across one of them's mind. Deja vu. Where have we heard this before? Right? And they take the net and they throw it out on the other side. Been all night fishing, not one fish, and now they can't even pull it up because there's so many fish in it. Here's what's so neat about this, and this is what we learned from this story. Are you ready? This is what you need this morning. This is the nugget. This is the reason that if you are in that place that you come to church today. Lesson number 1 from the seashore. When I am at the end, Jesus is there for me. The disciples were at their end. I just need an out. I'm going back fishing. I'm confused. Watch this. They're disobedient. They're in a place of disobedience already. Why? Because Jesus told them specifically what they are to do, where they are to go, and they're like, how do we do that? If we are even caught outside in Jerusalem, I've got people wanting to stone me. Lord, I'm trying, but I can't do what you want me to do. These people are just constantly at me. Why can't I get anything done? It's a place of frustration. It's a place that they're caught between a rock and a hard place. I want to do what's right, but I know the result of doing it. Have you ever been there? Watch this. I'm going fishing. I'm going back to doing what I'd done before. I knew this Jesus. And Jesus says, you can't escape me. I'm going to be right with you. Can I say something to you this morning? If you are in that place, mad, hurt, confused, disappointed, rejected, embarrassed, tired, worn, heavy, need an escape, here it is. When I am at my end, Jesus is there for me. You see, the thing is, you and I both know it. We try everything that we think might help us escape what's going on in our world. We try it all. We go to the movies. We go fishing. And Jesus says, I'm right here. And some of you might even be here this morning and you might say, Pastor, I've tried that. I've tried going to Jesus and I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. Verse 1 and verse 4 calls to our attention by the seashore that when you are at your end, Jesus is always there. But then look at verse 5 with me. Then Jesus saith unto them, Children, have ye any meat? When I am at my end, Jesus reveals the futility of efforts apart from Him. You say, I really don't understand that. When I am at my end, Jesus shows me how I can't do anything apart from Him. Let me break this down to you. When they went fishing, why did they not catch anything? Think about it. We're talking about I don't know if it was all the disciples, but it's a pretty good handful. Let's say a half a dozen of them. All right? And they were fishermen by trade. You would think one of them would at least know how to catch a fish overnight, right? Not one fish was caught. Let me show you something that we fail to realize so often, and that's this. There was a miraculous catch the morning of when Jesus said, put your nets on the other side, remember? They couldn't even pull the net in. But the thing that you and I miss so often and so frequent is this, the miraculous no catch. What do you mean? Here's what I mean. They spent a night casting their net pulling their net in all of their hot spots, not catching one fish. You want to know why? Because Jesus miraculously kept the fish out of the net. You say, what does that mean to me? Jesus is trying to show you right in the middle of your circumstance that you cannot do this on your own. You have got to rely on Him. In fact, the more you try, guess what? The more you're going to fail. You see, not only is there a miraculous catch, but there's also a miraculous no catch. How many of us have made this statement? I've got this. And you might have not said that publicly. You may have just said it within yourself. You've not asked for help. I've got this. I'm in my zone. I know what's coming at me. I've been here before. I can handle it. And the problem is why are we always so stubborn to say, I've got this, when we don't have to have it ourselves? What is wrong with us? You say, Pastor, what do you... Look at this. Jesus wants to be with them. Jesus went to the seashore to be with them. Jesus, watch this, is just trying to show them that if you do it yourself, you will fail. Trust in me. How many times have we been through this over and over and over? I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I will always be with you. It's futile when we try on our own merit. It's futile when we try it apart from Him. Notice verse 6, what it says. And He said unto them, cast the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find. When I'm at my end, Jesus provides an abundance. Now watch this. You say, He hasn't done that yet for me. When the time is right, and in the way that deems best. Now Jesus could have just very easily given them their out, right? They could have caught fish all night long. Do you know that God can very easily restore your marriage with no problem? Do you know that God can change you with no problem? Do you know that, and this is a tough one, folks, do you know that God can heal you completely with no problem? There is nothing that God cannot do. But see, what we try to do is we try to have it our way. If He's not going to take care of my need this way, then I'm out. I'm going fishing. When I'm at my end, Jesus provides an abundance. But don't miss this part. When the time is right, and in the way that He deems best. You see, there's two abundances that I want to share with you quickly. First of all is numerical. Numerical abundance. I've got lots, right? Numerical abundance looks like a net full of fish, splashing around all over the place, having so many that you can't even hold on to them, right? Numerical abundance. But maybe this abundance that Jesus has provided for you is not numerical. What then? Let me give you another way of abundance. Fulfilled and contentment. Finding joy in less. Can I share with you something very important? Both of those, numerical or just contentment, both come from the same source, and that is God. Both of them have the same end result, and that is what? Here it is, joy. Joy for your journey. But the time has got to be right. See, I don't know why God's time is different than ours, but it is. And that needs to be okay, because He is much greater at being able to understand time than you and me. Hey, can I share something with you real quick? If you haven't figured this out yet, God has really got it figured out. We spend billions of money in our culture and in our society. And we've got things like global warming that we are talking about. When God is looking at it and saying, haven't you figured out that I've really got this figured out? But you see, time. And the time has got to be right. You say, man, Pastor, I've been hanging on for a long time. Can I ask you a question? If that's you, you've been waiting on God. Do you still believe that God is able? Then it's worth continuing to wait. I don't know why He's making you wait. I don't know why He's making us wait, but He is. He's waiting for what? The right time, the right way. And He promises an abundance of joy. 3 lessons that we learn from the seashore right there found in John chapter 21. But one last thing that I want to leave you with. How to experience the provisions of Jesus. If God is going to provide for you, and we know that He will, not only is He able, but He wants to. But we're waiting on His time and on His way, right? So when He pours out this abundance upon us, how do we experience the provisions of Jesus? And very quickly, I want to give you 3 ways. When He begins to pour out His provisions on your life, 3 things, or you're going to miss it. You're going to blow it. Do exactly as He says without question. Notice with me in the text what it says. In verse 10, Jesus saith unto them, bring of the fish. Can I ask a question? Who caught the fish? Who? Jesus caught the fish. Jesus is the one that knew where the fish were. Jesus is the one that said, throw down your nets. I guarantee you that they wasn't even thinking about casting that net out again. They were 100 yards from the shoreline. By that time, they had already folded it up and put it away. And here Jesus is saying, get it back out and throw it. Jesus caught the fish, but look who He gives the credit to. bring of the fish which ye have now caught. Do exactly as he says without question. See, it would have been very easy, and I'm sure Peter even thought about it. I'm not getting my net back out. We've already cleaned it. I'm tired. I'm already beat up enough. I don't want to be let down, discouraged again. Does any of this sound familiar? I can't do this again. I'm not doing that. I'm preaching real good at you right now. Hey, some wisdom from the Word. Do exactly what He says without question. Don't question God. I don't know why we're waiting. I don't know why you're waiting on the provision from God. But He's asking you. He's holding you, and He says, wait. I know that you continue to ask, Lord, I need you. I need you right now. He's saying, wait. Here it is. How to experience the provisions of Jesus? Go to Him ASAP. Don't let Him be the last thing that you do. Get in the habit of making that your first thing to do. You know what? If you have been in any way communicated to in the introduction of this sermon, you should run to these altars here in just a moment. Why would I do that? Because we must go to Him ASAP. You say, I've already done it. We'll do it again. Do you realize that might be why Jesus is making you wait on His abundance? Because He enjoys the time that He's getting to spend with you. Because maybe it's the problem that continues you coming to Him. Do it again. Go to Him ASAP and watch this. Thirdly, be willing to bring what you have. You see, here, you and I both know this is what we do. When we've got things going on in our world, we only want Him to take care of part of it. We don't want to give Him the whole thing. Hey, can I share something with you? He not only wants to take care of your physical need, but even greater than your physical need, He wants to take care of your spiritual need. You see, we get this all mixed up down here. We put physical before spiritual. God wants to take care of your spiritual need. He would rather you store up treasures in heaven than treasures down here. And how do we do that? Spend more time on your spiritual need than you do on your physical need. You see, folks, what we've got to realize, we can't go fishing without Jesus. We're not going to catch the fish that we're looking for without Jesus. And Jesus not only wants to help you catch that great fish, but He wants you to find joy in fishing for it, in waiting on it. And He wants to see how it's not only going to affect you, but how it's going to affect those people that are around you. I'm wondering how many of us here this morning, as we go to the Lord in prayer,